Good morning, everybody. My name is Mark Duckworth. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy days to join me for this next half an hour. Got a fair bit to get through, but what I want to go through today is Microsoft Dynamics 365 for sales. Now, for those people that don't know much about Dynamics 365, I did a previous webinar, which is on the Artis Group's website. There's a blog up there, and you'll see it gives an overview on Dynamics 365, which is basically made up of a lot of different applications, and the sales application is probably one that majority of companies that we deal with are buying and using. And hopefully what I want to do is give you a taste for it today so you can see what's involved. Now, what I find a lot of the companies I'm talking to, someone like Lisa, who's the MD of a small to medium company, Lisa's got problems, and I seem to see the same problems coming out all the time. They've got multiple different systems, they've got data everywhere, they've got no way of forecasting in their sales, and they've also, their reporting, their marketing, they've got no idea whether the marketing's working, how they're managing their pipeline. And in fact, to be blunt, some of them are saying they're not sure what their salespeople are doing, and in fact, whether their marketing spend's even working. And of course, when, as you can see up there with Lisa, Bob the closer, when he left, he's taken all the IP and all his clients with him. So what I'm hoping to do today is show you how with Dynamics 365 you can keep all this centralized and get a better view for your business on what's happening in your company. So I'm going to start and show you how you can use it through familiar tools that we pretty much all use, show you how you can work from anywhere on different devices, then talk very quickly through the lead to opportunity process, and how I believe that most businesses should instigate proper process within their sales org so they can really get a better result from them. And of course, wrap up with what sort of, I'll just show you a sort of brief idea of what reporting you can get, and it's quite extensive, you can go into it in a big way, but the reporting, and then what I believe the next steps that you should be taking. So what I've done is I've actually put together a demonstration, but to be honest with you, it's a bit of a slideware demonstration. I wasn't sure of all the people out on the webinar where they'd be located and on what networks, so I felt that if I ran a live webinar with the Dynamics 365 product, depending on your network, it may not have presented as well. So I thought I'd do it this way, and let me just try and run you through some scenarios if I may. So here I am. I've kicked into the office and I've started up Outlook, and once I kick into Outlook, basically I noticed that one of the mails I've got is from Mary, who's interested in purchasing Dynamics 365. What you'll also may have noticed, for those that have got Outlook 2016, which this is, you may have also noticed that up the top here I've got a Dynamics 365 app for Outlook straight in my Outlook. So if I click on that, you'll see what it'll do is pop up with a window, and I can then come down and click on it to either make, if I know Mary and who she is, I can make us as a contact in my database, or for now I don't know much about Mary, so I'll create her as a lead. So it pulls the information from as much as it can from the mail, and you can populate some of the other information as much as you know, and once you've done that, you can then save it, and maybe after I save that, which will save it straight into Dynamics 365. I'm then going to type up a quick email and ask when Mary's good for a call so I can have a chat with her. So I'll send her that email, and once I've sent that and got a response from Mary, I can then also in this Dynamics app add a phone call in there as part of my activities, because you can imagine when you're busy, you've got so much on, you can't always do it straight away. So I can schedule times and dates when I want to call, etc., for how long, and then I can save that. And of course, once I've done that, I've now called Mary and spoken to her, got some information, and then what I've decided is that we've worked out we're going to have an appointment and set up a meeting. So I set up a meeting here, between myself and Mary. I also need some of my other resources, so I'll go in here and add some other people. I've got Ellie here, who's one of my CRM gurus, and I'm going to also include her in this meeting, and therefore she can come along and help me talk to Mary about Dynamics 365. So once I save that, I can then basically, I've done the call and I've got an activity scheduled there with Mary. For those that use Outlook, and especially tasks, you'll also see over here that if you do use tasks, and I know a lot of people do, you'll see that it goes straight into the tasks in Outlook. I've got the, there's the call and there's the meeting scheduled as well. And of course, in my calendar, my busy calendar, I basically have got that meeting scheduled. So you can see these are familiar tools, and this is all interacting straight with Dynamics 365, which is a great thing. So there's a brief look at how it integrates with Outlook. I'll come back to more about that later. But also I mentioned that I wanted to talk about how you can work from anywhere. As the saying goes, work is no longer a place you go. It's basically something you do. So as far as devices, you can work from anywhere on any device with these Microsoft products. So I can work on not only Windows devices, of course, but iOS devices, Android devices, and the functionality is rich. Microsoft are doing a huge job to be able to make it function across all the devices and no limitation. So just to show, here I am, I've gone to a browser. I could be at the airport and I go into the internet cafe anywhere, and I decide that I'm going to log in. And for those that use Office 365, you may be familiar with this. If you don't, well, I'd love to talk to you about that as well. But I basically click into my mail, and once I do, I'm in what they now call, this is the web version of Outlook, Outlook Web Access they call it. And there you'll see that mail from Mary. And by the way, there's that Dynamics app. This is in a web browser now, got that same information. So I could come to your work and log into your machine and still get this view. So I can really literally work from anywhere, which is a beautiful thing. And that's why this is so pervasive, because most people are sick of having to go into the office, and especially salespeople. You know, salespeople need to be out and about and closing. So further to just working on through a browser like that, what I've done now is I've grabbed some screenshots. In fact, this is a real screenshot of my Windows phone. I don't have an iPhone, but I could have showed you that if I did. But you'll notice there's a Dynamics 365 application. If I click on that, you'll see there's my daily, what I've got to do, some of my work things, and you'll see there's a leads popped up from Mary. I can go in there, or I can go and look at all my open leads. And so this is the app that's syncing up straight to Dynamics 365. And there's that app from Mary, and that lead from Mary, I should say. If I click into that, you'll see that I'm now looking at details there, and this will get more and more details as I go through the sales process. If I swipe on this, I can then see that I've scheduled this phone call with her. This has pulled it from from Outlook, which synced it to Dynamics 365, which has now synced it back to my phone. And I can even see the mail that was at the bottom of this email. And of course, that meeting I've scheduled, there's that meeting I scheduled as well. Okay, so the message which I'm trying to emphasize here is that you can do this from anywhere on any device. A very powerful message in itself. So now let me just dive straight into the lead to opportunity process and show you what's involved and what you can see. So if I now click into back to on my web browser, I'm going to show you this through the web browser first, and then you'll notice my Dynamics 365 application sitting here. If I dive into that, it'll take me into my open leads. Now, you'll see there that there's the leads that I'm working on. I've got a chart over the right hand side here which shows, and I can have different charts there. I can have bar charts, I can have graphs, I can have a whole range of things, whatever, and this is part of the configuration of Dynamics 365 that we can help with. But these are my open leads. I could also drill down here and look at all leads. So I click up the top here and I look at all leads. And so this shows the leads across the company, and you can see the same chart there, but there's more that I can, and I can drill into that chart if I want to. I'm not going to for the sake of time at the moment, but what I'm going to do is drill straight in and have a look at Mary's details. So this information has come basically from my Outlook, and as I've populated it through, and you can see that it's dragged in different details here, and you'll see in the middle here is basically the activities and things that have happened. So I've got the mails that have come in that I've responded to, and also phone calls that I've set up, appointments that I've set up. And by the way, not only me, if anybody in my organisation is interacting with Mary, this will all be captured here under their name. So you've got a complete audit history of all the workings and contacts and the relationships with Mary. Okay, so as I go through now, I want to be able to, it's still in a lead status at the moment, but what I want to do is see if Mary is an existing contact in my database so I don't get many duplicates. So I click here and I look up Mary, and I find that she's not found. So I then go through and create Mary's details, where the company she's from, add in information as I know it, including address and stuff like that after my phone call with her. Then from there, I will save it. And it asks me account details, and I can go through and put in account details, which once again will make sure there's no duplicates, so you won't get a lot of duplicated data throughout your database. I can put in different revenues, I can put in number of employees, information that I need there about this company as I go forward. So once I save that, I can then look at some of the other information that I need to look at. You know, what purchase, when I talked to Mary, she said she wants to purchase this quarter. She's got a budget of $30,000. Who's the purchase process? Is it just an individual? Is it just Mary, the decision maker, or is there a whole lot of people that are involved? Who's the decision maker? I determined that it was Mary. Where did the lead come from? I can capture that. So this goes back to my marketing details as well, and how that's working. I can capture that as I go through. Okay, and you'll see the information that has been pulled in that we saw before. I can even see competitors, etc. I can scroll down on this, or to keep it simply, I can also click up here and I can see the summary information at the top, or I can go straight down to the details at the bottom. So as you can imagine, the more information you capture on these companies and these individuals, you capture a lot of information. So this keeps it all in the one place, where they came from, what materials to send, how you want to contact them. Some people don't want spam emails, etc., etc. So this is where you capture it all in this one place. Now I've determined that Mary, is more than a lead. I want it to turn into I've qualified it and turn into an opportunity. So up here, if I click on this qualify button, you'll see that basically it now turns it into an opportunity, and it closes off that lead status. It keeps it still there, but it turns this now into qualified opportunity. And up the top here, you'll see this sales process that Microsoft have put in here by default. But by the way, you don't have to have that. You can turn it off. You don't have to have that. But I would say, from my experience, this is based on world's best practice. To keep your salespeople sort of on target, on track, it takes you through what they need to capture and all the different information that needs to get through to close. And again, once again, if I look at here, I can see different things as I capture the summary bit of the information. If I scroll down, I can see information. If I scroll down on the page, more information about the company, who they are that I've populated through discussions or I've captured from websites. So I'm building up a story, who the sales team is in this opportunity that I'm working with Ellie, who the competitors are. And of course, once I start determining that Mary wants Dynamics 365, she wants the licenses, plus she wants so this is pulling straight from a price list that we've configured earlier. We can have, if you've got products that you're selling that are fixed price, you can have all that in there as a set catalog that your salespeople can pull up. They do not have to do too much. If you've got certain discount requirements, so these are all to do with modifications or customizations that you can make on the Dynamics 365 application. And of course, quotes. I can create quotes straight from here, and I can then email that straight to Mary. And it keeps capture of all the quotes, different quotes that I'm sending. through to Aardvark Industries where I need be. So I've now made sure that Mary's qualified. I want to move her to the next stage, and I've now you'll see it's ticked off, and I've completed. I've got the sales team. I've got the proposal completed, and I've actually presented the proposal, and I'm moving through the sales process. You'll also see by the way over here, that it actually captures the time it's taken from lead right through. So this gives, especially management, you wonder why some of your salespeople, whether some of these sales are taking so long. You can capture data on how long it's taking to close sales, and getting sort of analytics on how long it's taking and who's doing it better, and then you can determine why they're doing it better. You can put the close date in, the revenue, etc., and then we can move it further along and through to propose and completing the different sections here, and then right through eventually to close. So that is a very quick whirlwind scenario. This is pretty well out of the box as that is, but for most people that I deal with, a lot of this is what they need in their sales organisation today. It's better than the Excel spreadsheets they're currently trying to run their business on. It's capturing all the information in one place, seeing all the relationships and interactions between you and the client, who the different stakeholders in the business, etc. So very powerful in itself, having all that central information. So let's move on now from that sales process and talk about reporting, which I think most of the people I deal with are struggling with in their business. They don't know where the sales are coming from. They don't know who's closing them, how long it's taking, how much, etc. So if I go back to where I was just in my Dynamics 365 application, what I can do is if I click up here, and you'll see on the top, I've got a drop-down menu. And by the way, for those that you can customize this menu, and you can have a lot of different tiles here, or you can have a fewer, depending on your needs on what you can have. You can have this full of different applications here, depending on how much Dynamics 365 you've got. But for now, for a salesperson, this is probably even more than I need as an individual salesperson, right? I probably don't need the marketing and the campaign. I could take that out. But let me drill into accounts there, and I can see my active accounts sitting right there, and who they are. And if I actually, I've got over here a graph by default that's set up, and I can see when these accounts were created. And I have different range of accounts that I can set up and configure there to show me different details on my accounts. Again, I could have it by dollars and different things like that. But let me go back now to back to the menu. And what I want to do is go into this area over here called dashboards. Now this is where management, people that are interested in running their business would probably come on a regular basis. And in fact, me as a salesperson, this is where I would come. This shows me my pipeline in the certain stages of the sales cycle. I've got different goals I've got to achieve and where I'm at against those, where I am in the sales leaderboard against all the other salespeople within my company, what open leads and open opportunities. Now, by the way, I can configure this and have it completely change and look differently if I want, depending on what information I need to look at. And by the way, just to show you that in this information is available everywhere, I've got a quick screen grab for my phone, and this here is the same pipeline right on my phone that I can pull up and I can click into if I need to. So going back to that, what I can now do, back to the browser, I can then also come up here, click down, and I can have many dashboards, and I can configure new dashboards, by the way, but I can go down here and click on the sales management dashboard. Once I've clicked in there, you'll see this sales pipeline is based on the whole company, and it also shows me the revenue I've got per month, how much I've got come in, total open opportunities I've got. So again, I can configure this and have it different ways. But here I've got, it's great having a pretty picture, but what happens if I wanted to drill down into that? I can click on one of the icons up here and drill into it. This shows me all the activities. And by the way, just like an Excel spreadsheet, I can sort this. I can sort it on date order, I can filter it, I can do things you'll see on the top here. I can actually export it to Excel, and I can do a whole bunch of data analysis if you like. Or better still, on the right here, if I wanted to, I could click over on this chart, and if I just wanted to see those customers that are currently at contract negotiation, I could click on that yellow section, which is the contracts, and there's those customers that I'm currently dealing with at contract negotiation stage. And of course, I can drill down that into a chart and look and say, I want a bar chart by owner of those deals. And here I can show that these are the owners of those opportunities, how much. And again, I can't emphasize enough that you can configure these charts and graphs to suit your needs for your business, to how you want it. Other sort of graphs you can get, you can actually, if I click up here, you'll see that I've got a whole bunch of other charts. I can get deals won, everything else as I scroll down there. I may just want to get the top customers, and these are the top customers by the company. How many businesses do I talk to on a daily basis that haven't got a clue who are their top potential opportunities that they're working with? They've got no idea. They're spending so much time with these people that aren't going to bring them much revenue, and yet you should be focusing your time. You know what it's like, you're busy on a daily basis. So there is plenty of information, right? This, and again, I emphasize that a lot of this is almost out of the box with a very small bit of modifications. By the way, other opportunities, what I've done, by the way, is that for those that have never heard of Power BI, Power BI is written by is a product from Microsoft that enables you to pull data from multiple different data sources, external data sources even if you like. You may have an account system that you want to pull information in from, and you can write a Power BI report and pull information. And again, if I click on this, I've got the Power BI Australian revenue. I can write a report that shows me all the revenue from my business pulled in to a map of Australia, and I can see which are the target areas that I should be looking at. And of course, you'll see, and you can, again, I emphasize you can configure that to what suits your business needs. Of course, there's another product in this Microsoft stack called the social engagement, which means that if you've got blogs and a web page where you're doing a lot of social interaction, you can get reports straight from that as well. So there's so much information that you should be using in your business, but you can modify it as much or as little as you like. So just conscious of time and rounding back, I wanted to round back to where we started on the Outlook, because most people spend 80% of their time in Outlook, and this is where the beauty of Microsoft comes in. There's those mails and everything. You'll see that Mary's now an account with, sort of in Aardvark Industries. But one thing you may not have seen before earlier was this little menu item here in my Outlook. If I click on it, you'll see that it expands the menus. And if I come down here and click on opportunities, you'll see this is now pulling data straight out of my Dynamics 365. If I click on that Mary new customer opportunity there, it's got all the information that's pulling straight out of Dynamics 365. So I do not have to leave Outlook in any way, right? I can also go right straight from here into dashboards. And there, that's exactly the same dashboard that I showed you earlier with all that same information. Once again, I can click and drill into these if I need be. And of course, I can also scroll down and you'll see that there's the activities that I've got to do for all my different customers that I can follow up. And once I complete those, they will update Dynamics 365 straight from here. So I'm hoping you can see the full use of Dynamics 365, and especially from Outlook. The training, you don't have to do much training for your staff. The change management when you put in new systems is probably the biggest battle a lot of the customers I deal with face, whereas that's reduced when you use Dynamics 365. So I'll just pause there and ask Margaret, many questions come in at the moment? Nothing too much come in, nothing, few people, nothing at the moment. Okay, that's great. So what I'll do is I might just start to wrap up as the time's almost got away with this, and I'll probably suggest that the next step for those on the call, what I'd love you to do is talk to us. We have a Dynamics 365 for Sales Quick Start offering. It's a fixed price, fixed scope implementation. Love you to I'll give you my details in a tick, but I'd love you to contact me and we can talk to you about how we can get you into Dynamics 365 for Sales easily. And once you get into the sales component, then you can sort of probably expand and use a lot more of the Dynamics 365 products as well if you're interested. Of course, get in touch with me. We can organise a bit of a planning session just to understand your business a bit more. That's what a lot of our specialists here do. They work and consult with businesses like yourself to see what bits and pieces you need and how we can help you to put it in. If you've got any questions, yes, definitely on the line now if you'd like to ask, or alternatively, if you want to give me a call afterwards, please do that, and more than happy to help. And of course, for those that may or may not be familiar with Dynamics 365 for field service, that's another application within Dynamics 365. It's basically a great product for companies that have got people in the field that are doing maintenance and different tasks and jobs, and they can keep track, etc. There's my details, and please get in touch, and more than happy to answer any questions that I can. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to catching up with you in the near future.